Welcome to day 2 of our March releases preview videos, and today we're featuring the Oz set that I drew, and it's the little meeple characters that I drew as the Wizard of Oz characters. So today I'm using Dorothy, the Scarecrow, the Cowardly Lion, and the Tin Man, but also in the set is the Good Witch, the Evil Witch, or the Bad Witch, and Little Toto, but I didn't use them. And then also this month, I'm releasing a set called Color Splotches. And as you can see, they're just like paint splashes that you can use on the background of your cards. Now, I highly recommend with this set, when you get it, that you clean it really good and prime it and get it ready to use. So what I did is I took a scrap piece of paper and I stamped it a couple times on there to make sure that I was going to get a really good look on my card. So earlier in the video, it shows you the new die, our 4-window Slimline die, and I cut that out in green, and then I cut out a white piece of paper to be the base of it. So I laid the die cut out on top of it, and I marked where I wanted the little color splotches, 1 window for each of the 4 characters, and then I used a color from Tim Holtz Distress Oxide that kind of coordinates with the character. So the red is going to be for the Scarecrow, the black is going to be the Tin Man, and then I'm going to use a yellowy orange for the Cowardly Lion, and finally blue for Dorothy and her little blue dress that she wears. And then I did the Slimline in green because of the Emerald City, because they're going to the Emerald City to see the wizard. So I'm just finishing up adding the color splotches on the card. And I should have centered them just a little bit better, because when I add the characters at the end, they're a little off and you can't see the color swatches as good as I had hoped for. So I'm going to go ahead and just glue on the 4-window Slimline die now, get that on, and then I'm going to go ahead and stamp the little characters and color them. I actually designed the color splotches stamp set after I had gotten all the sets ready to go. And I thought, oh, wouldn't it be so cute to have the little 4 windows so you could use the little Oz characters in it and then have the color splotches behind it. So this set was specifically drawn after I drew the little Oz set. So I'm going to go ahead and prep them to be stamped, and to prep them I wipe them with a baby cloth, and then I use a pencil eraser to go over them just to get off some of that manufacturing oils and whatnot that are on it. And then I wipe them again with the baby wipe to get off all the pencil erasers. And this will give you a nice impression the first time you stamp. With clear stamps, sometimes you need to prep them before you stamp. If you ever stamp and it's kind of like the ink has beaded up on them, that's because of the chemicals in the manufacturing process of photopolymer stamps. So I just used Memento Tuxedo Black ink to stamp them on the paper. And the paper is just some Copic paper. And then I'm just going to color them. And I didn't really get into too much detail coloring them because they are small little characters. I believe they're each about 1.5 inches tall. So you can't get really, really detailed in them. But you know, you can add some highlighting and shading just to make them look pretty good. So I went ahead, and instead of using all 4 of my colors I use for skin, I only used the 3, the EO2, the EOO, and the EOOOO. And then I went ahead and I tried to stay with just a few different colors to color them. So I did her dress in the B2s, and then I also added some of the his pants and the pocket on the little Scarecrow guy, and then did his little jacket in red so it would match the color splotch that I did on the 4-window Slimline die. And then of course I had to give the lion a little red bow. Isn't he just the cutest? So for the brown on Dorothy, I'm just using E27 and E29, and then to really get the dark color in there, I come in with some E49. And I also add it to the Scarecrow's little shoes, give him dark shoes. So I'm just adding the highlights in her hair. And I Because it's kind of a smaller space, I decided not to do the flicking that you would usually do on, like, say, a Swiss Pixie. So I just went ahead and just got her hair colored and with a little shadowing on it. And then the little scarecrow's hat and his little bit of straw that's sticking out from under his hat and around his bottom of his coat jacket. And then I'm going to go ahead and start on the little lion. So for him, I used YRs for his skin, and then I'm going to use YGs for his mane of hair. So I just used two colors, YR21 and YR23, to get the coloring on him. And then I'm going to go ahead and use YR16 and I believe it's YR18 for the orange on his mane. And I didn't do a whole lot of shadowing on him, just enough to give it a little bit of dimension on him. And then just an R12 for his little belly. And I used R12 for all the cheeks on them. And then for the Tin Man, I used T3 and T5 for his hat and his body. And then I used T2 and T4 for his face and his legs and his arms. Because I didn't want him to be too much of a different, like I didn't want to use warm gray and then cool gray. I wanted to stay in the same family of grays, but I wanted it to stand out, that it wasn't all just like one color of gray. And then I'm going to go ahead and use my white highlighting pen to add highlights all over them. And I did her little dress. I added the little gingham on her dress and just added little white highlights here and there on the characters where I thought it would help punch them up a little bit. And then I'm going to go ahead and make the templates to cut them out. So our outline dies are an outline of the stamp characters. So I make a template because when I line up my outline die on the colored image, it always seems to be off. I can never get them to be exactly straight. You either have a ton of white on one side and like barely any white on the other. So I make this little template that I put over my colored image, and then I take the outline die and fit it down in the little opening, and then it cuts it out with just the right amount of white all along it, all around it. Now, one thing about this is you've got to use tape, lots of tape, because it will, if you don't tape it well enough, it will shift on you. So not only do I tape down my paper where the characters are at, but I also tape down the green cardstock, the outline template, and then I also tape down the outline dies on there to make sure that it's going to stay in place when I'm cutting it out and we don't have any oops, because all that coloring I did, that would really not be nice to have it messed up and then have to go back and do it again. So I'm just taping down all the outline dies just to make sure they're in place and whatnot. And I started doing this not too long ago because I got frustrated with always having the white part be off and it didn't look right. And I actually have one stamp set where there's a balloon in it, and the tail on the balloon, there's no like little cutout in it, so you can't see exactly where you're placing it. So I would mess it up each time. So then I realized, oh, hey, I can make a template and that would work wonders. So as you see, they're all nicely cut out and they look so good. So now I'm going to go ahead and add the sentiment to the card, and I just used a clear block to stamp it. And I don't know about you, but whenever I'm stamping like freehand like this, I get so nervous and I'm like, is it gonna go right? Is it gonna go right? I wanted the little characters to have dimensions, so I used foam tape to pop them up on the card. And so I'm just going to attach them each into the little square that coordinates with their color. And the sentiment says, it's not where you go, it's who you meet along the way. So I thought this was just really cute because Dorothy meets the three guys along the way. So thank you for joining me today. Tomorrow's day 3, and that is some Roberto sets. And wait till you see them. They are so adorable. We will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye, and have a great day.